You clicked that button.
Yeah, I clicked the button. Woman, we're live now.
You click it.
Yeah. Shh. According to my clock, I'm not, folks. I think. Yeah, it's still 10. Hey, how's it going? RB Grizzlies here. I am recovering from sickness, so hopefully the voice will hold up and the tea will survive. I am not British enough for tea, but in desperate times, desperate measures are done. How y'all doing today as I figure out my links and all that jazz? Link. Excuse me. Excuse me, wife. It's rude. All right, there's one link. We're going live. And yeah, so today is going to be a fun lesson about the fall of man. Yes, we are talking about the serpent today.
We're not talking about men falling?
No, not men. What?
The fall of men?
Wife?
You waxed the
Wife, I'm about to commit fraud here by typing on your thing to send out a post.
Don't tell them that.
Oh my God. Quick, type instead, wife. Do your thing. The link is ready. I assume you guys can still see me.
The link is ready.
Right? I'm making my wife commit marketing fraud. No, wait. It's not fraud because she's doing it. Would be fraud if I did it? I think I'm really stretching the term fraud at this point.
Keep saying it, it'll turn out frog.
Frog. Now that's a fraud. Wow, this is taking.
There you go.
We find a dare. Find a dare, wife.
In a minute.
Don't worry, guys. We'll get to the lesson. Okay. We'll get to the lesson. We're just trying to do our due diligence over here. All right, get out of that. Get out of here. Okay, I'm back. Oh, good. And then we lose everybody, naturally. That's okay.
How dare I type on my...
We're just here having a little fun as we wait for the stream. See if anybody wants to show up before we get fully started and I figure out what I'm doing. So if you guys remember last lesson, we talked about why man was created and the command that God put upon us, which was to be fruitful, multiply, and take dominion over the earth. Yeah. Colonizers, gardeners. And by implication, this means that the earth needed to be dominated and thus was not perfect. Garden Eden was separate from the world, as evident, of course, by the fact that, excuse me, my cat is getting into things. As you could see, when Adam and Eve get kicked out of the garden, they were not jettisoned into the multiverse of, that used to, jettisoned into nothingness. Okay. They were jettisoned into the wider world.
That's not why the book of Genesis is called the book of Genesis.
Okay. Those are different words, my love. Different words. But that's okay. Oh, my wife's feeling shy today, so you only get to see her right ear. Oh, wait, there she is again. Oh. No, it's her right.
That's her right here.
Right, because you're on the other side of. Hi, are you sure you want to listen to me? I mean, I'm a little confused right now. Oh. Kind of liked it when it was just your ear cameo, though.
Yeah, I had a beautiful ear. Maybe I should send earplugs pics.
Not jokes you say on the internet, love. Not on the internet. Someone will take you seriously.
Are you serious?
Okay. All manner of weirdos are on here. Now, as I am sick, you will occasionally see me duck out of screen. Oh, that's better. I thought the sound effects helped, so they didn't have to hear me snorting. You guys have to let me know if that's not necessary. So, we're going to share screen here. Yeah. I'm going to click on this. Show how much of an old man I am. You know what? I did my best to keep you well. You got sick on your own. Dang it. All right, here we go. You guys can see this, I hope. Yes, I love map of something view tab in studio. Oh yeah, hey, now I see what you see and I see me. That's exciting. God, I need to get into the lesson before I really get high.
I mean, I've been making horrible jokes, including your
emphasis on horrible. Yeah, see, it works on her.
Shut up.
Anyway. You get him shabby.
Maybe I should put a red star on it and be a Russian tank.
Be a Russian tank? I don't think they could see that. Try one more time to show off your cute little tank that made everyone happy.
You're not
gonna...
Last time I did this, the paint.
No, it is. It's a cute little baby tank. Okay.
There. Okay. Yeah. Back to the list. I'm gonna try and make a red star. It's a Russian tank.
Sure, you want a red star? That's like a Soviet tank, then, ain't it?
Red Cross.
Oh, it's a Crusader. I like it. All right.
With this little cape.
Okay. So we'll jump into this and I'll stop being all over the place. It's been a long day. I'm tired and trying to get into it. But here we go. So no plan survives contact with the enemy. Now, we're titled this because God's plan goes awry. It's not defeated, but it goes awry. It's delayed in the Garden of Eden. God's plan is originally out there for everybody to see. He says, okay, I made man, and this is how man's going to take over the earth and bring it into my kingdom. He's going to go into the earth. He's going to multiply. He's going to take dominion over all the plants and animals and the nature itself. And then through that, I'm going to bring all of creation into the Garden of Eden, essentially making all of the world part of the kingdom of heaven. See? Plan, steps of the process, how it's going to get done. This, unfortunately, allows his enemies to act. So, to start with, things do not go to the Lord's plan in the Garden of Eden, and in his creation as a result. Certain of those in the more Calvinist camp, still I go where the text leads me, and nowhere God caused the serpent to deceive Eve or make her specifically to be deceived for the drama of mankind's fall to play out. Why give the decree to multiply, fill the creation, and subdue it to the Lord's will if the plan was to have us fall from grace before we could even begin? And that clearly did not include mankind, his instruments and image bearers on earth, to be deceived into rebelling against this kingdom. The ability for the snake, or as most scholars and normal folks like us agree, is Satan, the primordial devil, to hide his actions from the most powerful being in the universe, has the most terrifying of implications and proof of his motives. Until Adam and Eve fess up to their sin, and then the punishment. Now, you might try to argue that God the whole time, and he was just getting Adam and Eve to fess up, right? The thing is, we have an example of God doing that, and that's read ahead. The questioning is very different. And when Cain denies it, God tells him how he knows. The earth. Hey, if you guys have a cat, don't worry, that was a cat. What timing, you feline? It's because we haven't fed him yet. He's going to go crazy. Shh. Anyway. Right, and in that story, right, once he brings it up to hey, Cain, the earth calls out. It swallowed Abel's blood. I know what you did. The earth told me what you did. Now, again, Genesis could be taken a lot of different ways, but we can see the difference in the two different types of questions. One is a surprise, what do you mean you're naked? Who told you that you're naked? What happened? Right? The other is, so where's your brother, Cain? And when Cain acts defensively, he goes, I know what you did, you idiot. Right? So, needing to see the difference in the questions. And it kind of, I think, messes with a lot of people's heads when they actually take the verses for what there is. Most people are just going to kind of discredit it in some way. Maybe they'll try to say, oh, it's metaphorical. Oh, it's just an ancient story adapted into the biblical sense, blah, blah, blah. But remember, this is some of the oldest texts we have, and God has pushed this stuff through history to be around for us to read it. And, this isn't the first time that has a plan or something, and he changes his mind about it. sometimes because of a mortal's actions. Later on, for example, we get into this in a future lesson. God is so angry with the Israelites. Hey guys, we have kids too. Anyway, it'd be funny if you guys couldn't hear that, but my wife slapped some kind of toy. It made a lot of noise. Anyway, so in that, God's so angry at them for worshiping a bull while he's in the middle of becoming their God and giving them the 10 Commandments that he tells Moses, okay, stay here. I'm going to murder all of these people. Well, it wouldn't be murder. He would kill all of these people. And then I'm going to make a new nation out of you, Moses. And Moses goes, wait, God, let's take a step back, please. They deserve it, but come on, slow down. And God listens to him, hears him out, and under his pleas, changes his plans again. Goes back to the original plan of using the Israelites, but they get punished for it, and eventually, right, that whole generation of Israelites die in the desert. So I don't want to also give people false pretenses. We don't, as I keep trying to tell people, we don't know how all this stuff works. We're getting bits and pieces of it from Genesis and from other books and whatnot. We don't know what the rules are or how they work or how the devil hid his actions. And if he could hide his actions, and we get into this, I should probably read it. Why pick an action where he's easily called out? If you can hide your actions, why would you pick something which would instantly lead to you getting caught? So let's keep going. I don't want you guys thinking I'm trying to say that what you do on earth, God won't find out about. Right? God will. Right? We don't understand all the particulars of the spiritual realm. But the Bible is very clear that anything that happens in our life and around us, God knows about. We don't necessarily know exactly how it works, but we don't have to. We can move on from there. Let me know if there's any questions. I will answer forthwith. All right. Now, I want to clarify that Satan did not pull off his ruse. He was called to account. God found out the rebels' guilt, and most importantly of all, readapted his plan for creation and humanity. His image-bearing colonists, as we see in God's declaration before passing judgment on Adam and his descendants for being deceived. Oh, scrolling down is always difficult. The Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and above all beasts of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Genesis 3:14-15. The verse gives us a verse to unpack while reading the Bible that will change our perspective on how the biblical narrative plays out. The fact that the Lord was ignorant of man's deception by the serpent till the damage was complete shouldn't be ignored. We could even postulate that the devil had already rebelled at this point or was in the process of beginning his full rebellion. Revelations 12:7-9. Now, I want to take a side note there. I need to do a little more research. I found something suggesting that Revelation 7-9 is actually referring to an end of days situation where there's a war in heaven. So I don't want to give you guys false pretenses. I need to go back through and make sure it's wrong. But we do know at some point that the devil was cast out of heaven. There's plenty of verses in Psalms and stuff talking about like the star, the best prince of heaven being tossed down and all that, and lots of star imagery, right? So, but I need to go back through and make sure that I'm not messing up on that, not one verse there. I say this because of how we see the enemy able to hide his movements, however briefly, from the Almighty. If he was capable of doing this, why then enact a plan that would ensure his rebellion was found out? He had to have known the first thing Adam was going to do was blame Eve, and thus Eve would blame the serpent, leading God to the culprit of the crime. If he was still in the process of setting up his rebellion, then secrecy would have been a priority. It's almost as if the twisted freak wanted his previous master to know who had ruined, or mostly ruined, the Almighty's plans on earth. If he had already fallen from grace, that explains why the devil didn't care if the Lord his transgression since God already knew the serpent, that old red dragon, had fallen from grace. The enemy wanted God to feel that betrayal. For those of you who have read the Bible and know enough about the devil, this spiteful attack seems to fit the Dragon Boy's Gamma MO. He wants you to know that he's the one ruining everything, or trying to. Still, we can also make a few more speculations with future passages in the Bible in mind. The devil coveted God's creation on earth. We could assume that there was nothing more spiteful malice in Satan's actions. A churchian would say so and dig no further. But you're not in your grandma's Bible school. Right. We are going to dig deeper. Why attack humanity? Or rather, turn man against God? Why was this the attack the devil chose? And this is kind of an important point that I want to talk about a bit. Is a lot of times you'll have all these prophet people or modern day prophets, right? And they'll talk strategy and all this rest of the stuff, but then they'll treat him like a in his motivations 90% of the time. In their heads, he's this ultimate mastermind that can twist all the world's leaders and everything to do evil, but his motivations are purely just comic book villain. He hates you. And that's about it. Some of them might go so far as to say, he hates you because God said you get this, or you're going to judge the angels or something like that. And that's just, but again, right? There's always seems to be more to the motivation, and we'll get into it as we go. It's a very too simplistic motivation. Like, sure, he hates it, but if he has no method of victory and he is this smart mastermind, why would he then rebel? Right. So let's get into a little bit more. Let's say you are a general in Germany in the spring of 1944, and you know the Allies are preparing an invasion. You know they're coming. They know they're coming, but they aren't ready yet. What would you give to sabotage those force for their inevitable attack? Of course you would. And was doing. Satan wanted the earth, and as proof of this, I point to the fact that after the events of Genesis, he did claim the earth.
Rosie.
In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of God. 2 Corinthians 4:4 calls out our adversary, the God of this world. It's why Christ tells us to be in the world, but not of the world. It's why when the devil offered the nations of the world, he wasn't bluffing. He had the ability to give the world to Jesus, which is why the temptations of the desert were temptations at all. We're trained to view the earth as just another rock, like a billion other rocks out there, rare to support life, but not the ability to do so. The Bible disagrees. God declares this creation good, and its enemies have been trying to claim the physical realm for themselves ever since he created this majestic world. Little wonder they work overtime in their propaganda isn't worth fighting for. To think only of the next disconnect from the physical realm like in Buddhist concepts. So it's when I first kind of heard this idea and stuff from Dr. Heiser, and you look at the sons of God coming down to mix with mankind and all this other stuff, and the idea that there was more to them than just trying to corrupt creation. Like, what is this rebellion all about? What were their goals? People don't tend to just rebel for the sake of rebelling. And it makes more and more sense that they're trying to take our inheritance, what we were sent to take, creation, for themselves, and as we'll get to in the next lesson or two, their strange bastard children that they make. Right? We'll get into it in the next lesson. We'll get into it in the next lesson, but what was the point of the giants? Were they just horny angels, or did they also have a purpose? Now, the Book of Enoch, we should also clarify with the Book of Enoch, there's 3 books of Enoch. Second and third Book of Enoch are pretty much medieval creations. It's kind of obvious the way they're written. They're completely different style, different voice behind the writing, if that makes any sense. While the original Book of Enoch has a much more ancient feel to it and has proof of it being ancient, being in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in the books held. Oh, hey, Arcades. How long has he said hi and I hadn't
He's
noticed?
been there for a while. You're right. Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't see your comment or Gaines. I blame my wife and my cat personally because they're fun to blame and they're here.
It was before the cat interrupted.
Oh, come on, give me something here. Anyway,
Something?
So yeah, that's right, our Gaines. I'm gonna be rude to you. You're too cool not
This
to
is
be
why
rude
you
to.
need me as a host. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Here I am. I keep quiet and what happened?
I know. I get so focused. Anyway. What was I talking about? I was talking about something important.
You're talking
You forgot to.
about the Book of Enoch.
Oh, right.
About part 3.
Right. Part 2 and the second and third Book of Enoch
is
are
like the
medieval
creation.
creations.
Yes.
Right.
And
So,
the first one's more at the ancient.
Yeah. We don't know exactly how old it is, but it's really, really old. Huh?
See, I pay attention.
Wife pays attention. And it's also held as one of the canonical books in the Ethiopian church, which incidentally, I'm not saying all the books they choose to read are necessarily should be considered canonical or whatever, but because they were disconnected from the rest of Christianity, they didn't have all those political elements that pushed them to decanonize a bunch of books. Now, some of that wasn't political, some of that was actual theology and kicking it out of false texts and whatnot, trying to sneak in. But on the other hand, it's a good show to say, okay, hey, this book is very old and not part of these other second and third books that were clearly made as kind of just tapping into this other more popular book, which was a very common thing to be done in the medieval time period and earlier and all this other stuff. Basically, it's like bad fan fiction, but you can literally make people think that your stuff is part of the real thing because it's ancient. And you just kind of add it into the wild, and there's no way to check it properly. So a lot of people believe it. So that's why you'll get a lot of pushback in a lot of ways, is because there's a lot of the second and third Book of Enoch issues. And there's like miracles in the first Book of Enoch that a lot of people have trouble with. Like there's claiming that Noah was like born with very glowy skin or very shiny. Like there was something very obvious about him being special. Personally, don't see why that's harder to believe or some of the other crazy stuff that happens. A lot of the more ancient books can have these and stuff. Time just does that. All right. Okay, where did I leave off? Right. We were targeted, humanity, because we were the colonists sent to take possession of our inheritance, the earth, and bring it into the heavenly kingdom in God's name. They attacked the invasion in its infancy and then claimed the world for their own, turning the Almighty's servants against him at every turn. But here we see the important aspect of this passage that will be a theme throughout the Bible. Even if the devil messes with God's will, the Almighty has a say in the counterattack and is not idle. His plans, making a prophecy that the offspring of Eve, and as we see through later prophecies, 2 Samuel 7, 12 through 17. Nice try, devil. The plans are only delayed, not destroyed, and man through Jesus Christ is linked to his grand strategy despite the dragon's attempts to break us from our Creator. Here we come to the third and one of the more fascinating observations. Not the devil, nor even the angels, or any man or any principality of power knows how God's will play out exactly. Part of this is deliberate. As we see in the previous lessons, God declared his will in no uncertain terms to his entire assembly of heaven, and even how that will should be carried out. Creation would be conquered and subdued by the children of God, bearing his image in human form via propagation, taking dominion over all the plants and animals, and by taking dominion over the land itself. Genesis 1, 28-30. A pretty solid plan, and the Almighty's enemies thought so too. Their first move to counter the Lord, colonists and crusaders themselves, who were still young and gullible. His stratagem, future lessons. But for now, we can see why God changed. No more was he going to declare in detail how his plans would be accomplished, so his enemies could counter him with ease. Now the enemy was going to be in the dark till Christ himself came down to Hades and hell to break their power with blazing eyes and a sword coming. For example, we know that is Jesus Christ our Savior, but no heavenly being or even the devil knew that at the time when the prophecy was made. They only knew God intended to still use humanity to take dominion of the earth through the ultimate Savior figure. And not only was that Savior going to conquer creation, he was also going to process. Big promises and curses in detail on how the Savior would do the crushing. Thus was God's updated plan far more difficult to frustrate. Right? There's no mention of the cross. Right? There's no mention of the number of disciples, or how long the ministry would be, or that the Pharisees would need to be tricked into killing Jesus, and all this other stuff. Right? Giving that away would have meant that the devil wouldn't have brought the cross about and would have just sat back. Okay, yeah, okay, go ahead, preach, praise, do all your thing. I'm not going to fall into the trap. You can see a lot more of this if you get into the various prophets, Isaiah, Hosea, all these other ones. They're purposely obscured. The prophecies are obscured because they're designed to let you know when they've happened in retrospect, but not allow you to know when and how they're exactly going to happen in the future. Meaning, but not exactly how he's going to bring it about. This means that properly counter them in any one way or another, and thus are more likely to be blindsided when the prophecy comes to pass. Prophecy further, if that makes any sense. We can also scenarios. Do you need to fill that? Excuse me a minute, gents. I gotta just fill up. This is the life of a father, I'm afraid. It's a good time in the end. But sometimes other things are more important. And, your late night stream wakes up the baby.
I don't think it was that.
Probably not. Though I do talk quite loud.
It's not that. It's not that.
There we go. Thanks for being patient, gents. Oh, my God, there's milk on the floor. Rosie, where's my doggy? Rose, I need cleanup on aisle 4. Come on. And that is why one of the practical benefits of a dog, milk cleanup. We'll have to go back through and make sure it's really clean. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Revelations and bringing about the end of the world, right? It's the devil doesn't know that our enemies don't know when Armageddon is supposed to happen. So they keep trying to create the situation for it to happen. And we'll get into this. So be 2 to 3 prevailing schools of thought amongst our enemy throughout history, dominating ones. And then there's a lot of cross theories and actions and mentalities mixed in there, right? They're not all Illuminati, right? They're not all one this or that or this. There's always a different flavor of evil where they come from. For example, Buddhism and a lot of the more Eastern evils. There's a reason why their dragons look like snakes, okay? And that they're the messengers of the gods in a lot of situations. There's even a concept in Japan, at least, that snakes are the messengers of gods, right? Little questionable, right? It's because of what their gods are. And you may question then, well, why didn't they push mankind to be as evil? Sometimes that was a thing. Master could argue, right? There was a lot less humans, a lot less vicious, crazy ball worshipping. My children are going nuts. And my thinking with that is their school, if you look at it, right, the yin and the yang, the balance of good and evil, and all, essentially. Wife, I don't think they can hear you from over there.
You can interpret.
But something about horrible. Never mind.
Anything off balance.
Anything off balance, right? So, if you think of that and we apply it to good and evil not being able to be properly balanced, right? The point is, if you could do that, right, balance good and evil, you've created an imbalance because that's a good thing to have the balance. It's a paradox. You can't actually have it. But the goal, if you look at it from the high-end perspective, is to create a scenario where Armageddon never happens, right? Where there's just enough good that God won't destroy the world, but there's enough evil that they still rule it. You know, and that's Buddhism in a nutshell. That's why it's evil, because it's just mundane enough that God won't destroy everything in an Armageddon fire if everyone became Buddhists, or most people became Buddhists. But it's still evil enough for them to possess people and have free reign in all these cultures and whatnot. There's a lot of trouble and pedophilia and stuff in Buddhist temples, Thai temples especially, and all this other stuff. You can talk to people who've dealt with the spiritual darkness of Buddhist temples if you want. It's not something I want to get into in great detail right now, but you get what I'm talking about, hopefully. And you can see the different thoughts between the underlying occultic thinking in Eastern religions and sub-religions and occults and Western ones. The Western one is much more aggressive. They seem to have a thought that they can win if they pull about Armageddon just right. Obviously, they can't. God's already declared they can't. But I do like to point out to people that it is probably going to be a fight, because these beings know more about reality than we do. They know more about how spiritual everything works. All right. Personally, I think the Eastern religion ones are smarter in the end. They seem to, get the right idea. But there has to be a reason why the Western ones think they can win. Now, you may go, what's the third? Well, the third one is something that I think exists, but I don't think is as strong as people think. It seems to be more used by the other two ones more heavily, but it's destructive. Oh, we can't have it, so we destroy everything mentality, right? Destroy all of humanity as much as we can, or the earth, because we can't own it. We'll destroy everything, right? Just the destructive. Oh, could there be more than that? Oh, definitely. Those are feels you'll get as you at a month and stuff. Complicated thing, because most of what you learn in the Bible will prepare you enough. It's not something everybody needs to learn studying the occult stuff in. So as I tell you this stuff, guys, to be smart. Don't do too much research, and don't do it without a lot of prayer. Don't do it at nighttime as best you can. All right. Pray before you get into any intense stuff. Don't just pray over yourself. Pray over your family. If you have kids, pray over them first. Pray over your wife. Pray over your animals. Cleanse your house and your property of any evil before you get started. Now, take a shower is not bad. Wife says it's actually true. Physical cleanliness can make a difference. Maybe sometimes just for your mental psyche, but and not all of this stuff will get you that intently. But you never know when you're going to step on that landmine, and that's an issue. Oh, I'm going to have to hold a baby. This is exciting.
Deal with him.
Come give me a baby. Give me a baby. No, the bubble. She wants to cry. No. I have one son banging his head and a daughter who needs rocking. All right. So, right. You don't know when you're going to run into a landmine. And often, a lot of people don't think about this, but having certain items in your house can be treated in the spiritual realm as an invitation. If that makes sense. Now, enough prayer and everything can protect you from any evil. However, just having that invitation there can be a problem, and can also be a kind of thing of they wait for you to have a weak moment and then they'll take advantage. To give you kind of a weird example of my own life, my wife brought a bunch of inherited jewelry back with her from Thailand, where her parents were missionaries. And there was one of a jade dragon thing. We didn't think anything of it. She never wore it. She just had it. It was an inherited piece. We like to hang on to that kind of stuff. But we had a rough patch, and we ended up having to sell some of it. And my wife didn't like the imagery in the end.
There are several pieces of jewelry I didn't like the imagery.
Right.
And the fact that my mom has somehow randomly got random people giving her jewelry. 14 karat gold, 18 karat gold, those kind of. It just, the imagery itself was creepy.
But there was like a shadow puppet one, for example. That was weird.
Even the people who said it was
creepy. And the problem, the people I sold it to thought it was pretty creepy too when I showed the shadow puppet one to them. And when we were learning, and I didn't quite fully understand.
I think God really led you to ask me to sell it.
Right. And the night before we were going to sell the Jade Dragon, or was it the night after?
Okay, I had a dream about the
when ball. Was it before or
that after? Was before we sold it. Then after you sold it, you had your moment.
She had a weird dream of a green haze.
Or a haze thing.
Like suppressing her.
Yeah.
And that led her to say, no, we're going to sell it. Because we didn't quite
Because I was thinking about the Chinese thing, and I'm like, and green, that's more dragon, that's like jade, but this...
Yeah. Anyway. So, and then after we sold it, I had a dream. And I don't have dreams. Like, I don't really get dreams. I had memory of like 3 or 4 dreams in my life. One includes a nightmare of Kermit the Frog being eaten by another Muppet thing that was supposed to be an alligator. That was a weird one. And I remember that to this day. I think I was 10. That freaked me out. I used to have more problems with them when I was younger, but there's a skill
are weird.
You can learn, like, practice it yourself. You can I'm sure some people can take over dreams. In my case, I just pushed my psyche as I had nightmares to
defeat the evil.
Yeah, I would change the rules in the dream is the best way I would put it. And it would change from me running from the evil to the evil running from me. It was, and I never thought of it too deeply before, because back then I was just like, it's just my mind, right? And if it's my mind, I can take control of it. But now I wonder more and more if there was something more spiritual going on with that. And because God was with me when I started fighting back, well, and it's funny how those nightmares stopped. If it was just in my mind, you would think they would keep happening. But, yeah. Anyway, so I hadn't had a nightmare in a long time. And I had a really strange dream where I was talking with a couple that I couldn't recognize, but they were friends somehow. And I was trying to explain some evil concept, and they just wouldn't accept it. Or and then I said something to say, "Oh, you shouldn't talk that way." Like you talk about skinwalkers, they show up mentality. And I was going to answer something, and the next thing I know, I sense a whoosh, like I feel the wind of something long moving past me and resting on my shoulder, and I can't move, and I can't do anything, and I hear like a growl, and I sense it, and it was stopping me from saying anything or praying or moving or anything.
It stops you from,
and it was like sitting
Jesus
on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I got pissed in my dream. I guess that old training kicked in, and I forced myself to eventually pray against it, and I tried to turn, and I woke up. The thing is, I realized it was a dragon, and it was green.
The more you described it.
And I heard green aura. I knew somehow. Like at first, because I had been...
Is it kind of metal?
Yeah. I thought that maybe it was like a dogman demon type thing, because I'd been researching it recently, but it didn't seem right because it like flew and it hovered and it did this weird shit. Anyway.
Well, and then you use that to make it your interesting villain in your...
That's true. I used it as inspiration for a villain. It was a good time. Anyway, that is a long, drawn-out story. Basically, we're glad we got rid of that. And that's how this kind of stuff can get you. You have to remember that the enemy doesn't play fair. They just don't.
Well, you do it because they're evil.
Because they're evil. Right. You may not be consenting to let something in your house, but owning that thing and putting it inside your abode gives them free reign to enter. I suspect in a limited capacity, because this thing never really messed with us till we finally got rid of it. Or if it did, we didn't realize what it was doing. So
it explains a lot of my childhood problems in a way.
Yeah.
Saying.
Yeah. Kind of actually surprised that it wasn't the shadow puppet thing that didn't mess with us more. There was a necklace with like this weird shadow puppet.
Well, that business. One was in Thailand with us. The dragon one was kept in the States.
Right. Oh, no, that's weird.
And I'm wondering if the shadow stuff had something about it. Cause...
Hey, wife.
Okay, I'll shut up.
No, you can. I need to scroll. And my hands are full.
It's like you're holding a baby.
Yeah, a wonderful babu. Woo! Woo! All right. So I think I've regaled you enough. I hope that was enough warning to understand that the spirit realm works in strange ways that you don't expect. And yes, there were other times. I won't say what book it was because I want you guys to be properly prepared before you look into anything weird, where I just started reading one of these books. And we got so much spiritual attack that I had to just stop because we were in a very vulnerable time. I think second or third baby was just being born. And I realized the vulnerability I was in. I'm like, what if they attack the pregnancy? I'm like, no. All right, this is not the time to research this. And so I stepped back, not because I was scared, but because I didn't want to invite an attack while I was to be mentally prepared when you start digging into the weird stuff. It's often better. You got to know what you're getting into, is what I'm saying. And you don't need to know all of it. A general concept of how a lot of this occultic stuff works is good enough to recognize it in the wild and know when it's sneaking into your midst. Because this is really the only value it has, understanding this stuff, is recognizing it when it's trying to get in. That's important.
When something feels off, atmospheric-wise or whatever, something's weird. Mm-hmm. That's usually a hint.
Yeah, it is. But think about the jewelry.
And I know.
We didn't think that was a problem for years.
Until we fell asleep one night.
Yeah.
And we were thinking about getting rid of it. Like it's
insane.
Years. The intensity of it too is almost metaphorical.
Makes me think of how many spiritual attacks could have been avoided if. Yeah. Probably enough of a side note. Mm-hmm. That's probably enough for warning when you're digging into that kind of stuff. You know what? Let's get back to the thingy. Unless you guys have any questions. No questions yet. All right. Crushing. This was God of far more to frustrate. This will be another theme throughout the Old Testament.
I need to bring out the mouse for you.
Probably. I'm an old man. I can't handle these little push things. God makes a move. The devil counters. God counters and changes the game. The devil counters and corrupts. And the God changes the game again till finally Christ breaks the chessboard after a triple 4D chess checkmate move, literally thousands of years in the making. This is going to be good, but alas, we can't read about all of God's vengeance and brilliance in one lesson. So let's end this one with a reminder that God's plans can only be delayed, not denied. God is set on using mankind no matter the cost, and no one but God knows exactly how this is going to end. Remember those truths as we go through our future lessons. Question 1. Can you think of a verse in the Bible that confused you? What was it? And can you guess a reason why God might have hidden the meaning of the verse from his enemies? Oh, sore throats and stuff suck. See if I can think of a verse off the top of my head that confused me as a kid. Oh, well, I was going to talk about in my lessons, but I'm saving it for the next one. You remember that whole episode where Samuel was briefly raised from the dead to talk to Saul? Awkward. Like, I always was confused with that. Now, being a missionary son, there was always kind of this understanding that there was truth to witchcraft, but how much it was, and it was always just demonic activity. Like, you had this even as a churchian down there because you were under so much spiritual attack, generally. So you couldn't completely ignore it. Some tried. It was always mixed. Yeah, we don't. But you get the point. We can talk about that another time. We'll be here all day if we talk about that one. But
that's a rough one.
I mean, you and
some would know.
Yeah.
And some would be like, "Oh, I don't think so."
Yeah. And
I don't talk to churchians about it.
Yeah. But there's still kind of this sense there is some realness to it. Maybe not.
Past that, I was able to sense it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, we managed to say nothing for 30 seconds. Well done.
And while having a conversation, just
your child is judging you right now. She like briefly opened her eyes and went back to sleep. What the heck, man?
Oh, shut up.
But anyway, as a kid, that verse confused the heck out of me. Like, what is going on there? Like, even if I accept and face value like the witchcraft working, why is Samuel on earth and not in heaven? Can any soul be pulled up like that? Did Samuel come knowing that Saul was seen? There's another interesting theory that it was, but like a demon masquerading as Samuel, which is an interesting concept and something that has a lot of ties in in vampire lore. Like the original vampires weren't physical beings. The original vampiric stuff was a demonic entity, a spirit, a bad spirit, taking on the form of one of your loved ones to be allowed into the house as a spiritual being and then sucks your life force. Those were the original vampiric myths before the physical element of a being got tied to it. Now, I'm actually mixed on vampiric-like beings, physical form, since entities always want to take a physical form anyway. But the things that people try to say, like, oh, they just misunderstood the natural degradation of the body. That doesn't hold water. These people were in wars all the time. They were in starvation all the time. They knew what you and I did. They knew death probably better than most morticians. They'd seen it. They'd seen all stages of death. The idea that they were going to see a dead body that was going to make them think it's actually alive because of standard breakdown of the body is absolute horseshit. They know more about this stuff because they were around it. You don't have like these original myths were like from like if we go, there's a lot of different vampire myths actually. They originate in a lot of different areas. But if we're gonna go with like the vampire myth specifically in the West and the Dracula stuff and all that, we're talking an area that was under constant invasion and death. An area going back even to the ancients where entire cities would just swallow up and disappear. No one would know what happened to them. I'm not even talking about Atlantis yet. We're talking like Xenophobe, the Great 10,000. This is something I know only nerds like me know, but there was this crowd of 10,000 mercenaries. I don't even know if I brought this up recently. Whatever.
I feel like you have.
They get betrayed and they have to march their way back through Turkey. And when they're going, they have a bunch of weird things happen. And one of them was they ran into an entire city that was completely empty of people. Oh, I died.
Stop it.
Yeah, completely empty of people. But I can't remember if there was, but like it wasn't in ruins. There was just nobody there. And they march off. And they assume rightly that city would just fade from the maps because it did. And it's funny, they find cities in Turkey all the time. This area where Mongols came eventually. This is the Ottoman Empire, for crying out loud. Like, this is the Balkans with Cossacks. These people had seen so many dead bodies. They make our modern morticians look like pussies. I probably should, I'm trying to cuss less for YouTube's algorithms. Not that it matters. They probably hate me no matter what. But you get the point. The idea that these people who had seen death in such intimate detail, had probably taken lives, had seen loved ones die on multiple occasions, would somehow get confused about the natural degradation of the flesh is absolute. It's dumb on every level. It would take more body being degraded to convince them that there was something evil going on. God, I hate being sick and being live at the same time. Somebody make it stop. But we're getting through this. Anyway, so I suspect there's more going on there. Also, a lot of the added on stories. It's that classic, there's all these things going on, and then another story is laid on top of it. That's the Dracula story. It's the classic. Like, they did that with Skinwalkers and the Wendigo. I've definitely brought this. We need to bring that up in the. I have this whole other thing that I bet a lot of you haven't seen that I only put up on Odyssey ages ago. It's a podcast, and I get all into detail.
We need to do that. See it.
Put the podcast on YouTube.
Put a podcast on here
and see how it does.
Because we called it the Robin P. Grizzly. We called
it
the Grizzly Files.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Drank wine while we talked about evil spirits and stuff. It was a good time. Anyway, the original. Well, I'll like rapidly go through.
We drank wine while we were talking about.
Woo! No, it was fun. It was a good time. we weren't drunk. We had one glass. Anyway, a piece. I'm not gonna try to lie. Like, we split the glass. No, it was. Why did I use my Dracula voice? No, for some reason he's weird and French in my mind. Oh God! Though, oddly enough, there was most of the compelling vampire stories actually happened under the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. And kind of more, it's gonna bother me.
It's just a little.
It's wet. A phantom wetness. The first one happens kind of in the 1800s, actually, and that one has a lot of like legal standing around it. Like, there was outside, like, people came in to disprove it and then were shocked when they couldn't disprove it. The whole 9 yards of them, like, staking them and tying stuff up and people dying mysteriously. It was crazy stuff. And it was all documented by the legal court system of the day. The next story actually happened during World War One. And this one, the alleged vampire was named Kiss, and he was a soldier.
Like the band?
Before that was a thing.
Now I wonder about the band.
They wear makeup like clowns. That's all you need to know. Anyway, so you get
other things too.
So you can look this whole event up. He gets injured, and for some reason his maid was with him, which is also a little weird. I use this character as a villain later in one of my novels that someday we'll see the light of day, and that's ironic because it's vampire talk. But he gets injured, and while he's in the hospital, they search his home. I forget why. It was something related to why he was injured, and they find these sealed oil drums. And they think he's storing oil, like he's hoarding oil. He was a rich man. They're like, you're hoarding oil. And they open it, and they find dead women in each oil drum with puncture wounds on their neck and drained of their blood. And they were pickled, so they were preserved. And when this happens, the Austrians are not quite pleased. So they send for the dude so he can be tried for his crimes. And when they get to his hospital bed, he's gone. And his maid's gone. And no one ever finds him again. Just poof.
Okay.
Crazy shit. Never caught. I mean, who knows? There's other very interesting stories of immortals out there to bring up, but that's for a podcast, baby. Oh yeah, there's this crazy Carol.
No.
Like he pops up over and over again, and people who remembered him when he was supposed to be 20s are now like in their 70s, and he's the same age, using the same name. And then he disappears for a little bit, and then he pops up, and people who were alive actually saw him multiple times, and he would be all throughout these courts.
Okay. Back to your lesson.
Wife can't handle news stories.
To your lesson. I have a baby in my arms. I have a kid who's not wanting to sleep right now.
Tell me what else is new. Anyway, we'll get back to the story. So, right, that one was really confusing when I was a kid. But why is that the case? Even now, I don't know why. What? No, I didn't know that. I was talking about the witchcraft one where Samuel's brought back to the dead briefly to tell Saul he's screwed. So, right, you guys remember why we got into that tangent. Don't trust something that looks like your dead loved one right after they died, okay?
The Bible has a lot to talk about familiar spirits, okay?
Yeah, just don't. It's not exactly what a familiar spirit is.
Well, whatever.
But that's okay.
Even that. Don't.
The point is, don't just trust it, okay?
Don't trust it at all.
Yeah, got it? All right. Now, we can move on. Next question. With the fall of man, we are no longer capable of fulfilling God's original commandment to take dominion of the earth from the primordial chaos. Only through Christ can this be accomplished. Does that mean we shouldn't try to better the world around us and be fruitful and multiply, since we cannot complete our tasks till the Lord's return? This is a fascinating question for me too. But my obvious answer, if you haven't noticed by all the children, is no, we should still do our best, but recognize that we cannot complete the task. But it is right for us to fulfill the commandment to our best abilities while letting Christ and God work through us. We know ultimately that we will fail. At one point, we will fail so miserably at bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth, or the earth into the kingdom of heaven is probably a more accurate terminology, that all the nations will fall. All of them will fall to evil. All of the peoples by there will be no organized resistance against them. Be hiding underground against evil. And when that happens, God's going to return. But I would say it's still morally right and imperative to act on this level, to have children to dominate as best as possible on earth, because the more we do that, the more like Islam, we can save more lives in the process. More Christians means more likely people were to listen to Christianity and thus be saved and come to their Savior. Most amount of the way Christianity grows the most is through children, through having a civilization that is as Christian as possible. You're always going to have bad apples, right? You're always going to have these obnoxious, conniving little freaks on the other side in your nations. But the more Christian a nation is, the more likely the vast majority of people will be pushed in that direction. Like it or not, the vast majority of people tend to be herded. So it makes sense to do our best to herd as many people into that direction. If you don't do it, the devil will. We don't call Protestants who don't like this concept. You don't call your pastor a pastor for nothing. Let him herd the sheep and, herd the sheep in general. And for I don't think I need to tell. Catholics are actually on board with this already. So good on you. Try to concentrate on fighting evil and not your fellow Christians. Oh, wait. Coptic Christians also doing an even better job, since your priests who are actually in charge of denominations of being with people have children. Like it. Good. Just saying. Just saying. I'm sorry. Paul went. But I don't know. Your celibate priests should be in charge of everything. I think they should be missionaries. But that's neither here or there. I'm a simple man. I don't know everything. Yeah. But yeah. Especially for younger men, all this and come to that conclusion of well, if I can't win, why should I put all this effort into having children and family? I try to complete the first commandment if it is not. And in fact, if I think I've completed it, I'm probably failed because you're getting into utopianism, and it's not going to go well. And I don't need to go into all the reasons why utopianism doesn't go well. The point is, once you think you've made it, you've allowed an opening for evil to come in. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. Whew. All right. All right. There we go. We're back. Oh. Well, the baby's ready. You could probably take her in, though. You want the challenge now, don't you? She wants the challenge. She's painting as we speak. So, any questions before I ramble on for I don't know how long? You gonna put the baby down?
Oh.
Okay, we'll probably end the stream soon. Oh. Sorry, my wife's under attack by random objects reaching out and grabbing her. Whew. So, yeah. Trying to think if there's any details I want to make sure you guys know about. One thing we could postulate about. Again, right, we're going to get into stuff here that's nothing I can prove perfectly, if that makes sense. And it's something I could very well be wrong about. But we can make guesses, educated guesses, shall we say, about why the devil wants the earth, why the earth was so valuable that the Watchers fell from grace to try to claim it. And one theory that I have, and kind of course, I'm not the only one to ever come up with theories like this, but is that the earth, for whatever reason, that primordial chaos that we were sent to dominate, has a power in and of itself. Maybe it's because, like us, creation itself has a bit of God in it. In a way, creation images God. I don't know. But if you look at how our... There's a bottle on the floor. Enemies act. They have a tendency to create, shall we say, unhallowed places. Groves. Spots where they've done lots of sacrifices, and they have a tendency to try to desecrate holy ground, churches, and all the rest very thoroughly. They really like doing that, right? And there seems to be a connection going back, and we can see biblical principles pointing to that. For example, and I brought it up earlier, Cain killed Abel. What does God say? The earth swallowed his blood and cried out to me about what you did, right? There's this sense that the physical creation itself has a voice, and though that might be more of a metaphor, that the blood of innocents being killed affects the physical creation itself. Which, body, don't fail me now, may explain why they pick out these specific spots. Like, we already have this mentality as humans. Like, we almost have this natural feeling about evil places that have had so much innocence killed in one spot or done in one spot, darkness in one area, right? We have an aversion to these places naturally in our spirits. And I suspect it has to do with that. And I think some of it also has to do, like, back to that primordial, chaotic, evil part of creation, the part that has a bear eat your intestines while you're living, that naturally has it, which is why evil, all cultures, including the Bible and the ancient Hebrews, kind of agreed that gods and evil and spiritual beings resided in the desolate places out there in the landscape, the most obscure of the obscures, the hardest to get to places. That's where they were. Where did Jesus Christ go get tempted? he went into the wilderness to get tempted. Gods were, I brought this up again, were often viewed to be up on mountains, Mount Olympus, all this other business. That's why God came down onto a mountain, right? The original watchers who did their deed were said to have, I think this was actually a Book of Enoch thing, but I'll bring it in, to have landed on a specific mountain where they committed their treason. So that claiming territory on Earth gives them more power, and through that power, they can take more dominion and just play God. There also seems to be some ability to do that with human souls in a way, like human worship seems to give these things more power. So they try to claim more worship. We can also see it with sacrifices. It seems to be more than just, they're evil beings. Like the sacrifices seem to actually pull stuff off in the spiritual realm. Whatever physical energies that gives, I'm not postulating that I understand it all. I'm just saying it would behoove us to look at what our enemy has done and not just assume that they're cartoon villains. Like, why do they want all this human sacrifice? Is it because they just like hearing them scream? Or is it because
it makes you think about dreams when you say
that? Yeah. Or is it actually gives them more power, and thus ritual sacrifice feeds their abilities. And if they do it in the same spot over and over again, especially if it used to be a holy spot, and let's say double, triple whammy on like a deep wilderness spot that has ties to that old chaotic Gaia, if you will, if I can use a Greek term. Yes, this is also why I postulate that the environmentalist movement is literally satanic in the sense that they're worshiping the old primordial chaos. This is why paganism is so tied with them, is because they're literally worshiping the old creation. Fascinating stuff. And so we can postulate that maybe and again, not provable, but at least it seems like this is what they believe. If they pick the ultimate spot for them would be a place that has some of that primordial chaos still there, that a church was once on, that sacrifices and murder and dark deeds have happened on, and then they put more and more sacrifices on, making the place steadily eviler, and more energy stuck there. But that's just the theory. It also explains a little bit about hauntings. I never understood, why would a ghost stick to one spot? Like if I were a ghost in my small mind, 10-year-old mind, I would roam, baby. And it does talk about how spirits roam. So, for example, right, when Jesus Christ was talking about in a parable, right, when demons is driven out of a man, it'll go roam the earth, and then it'll come back to the house and bring 7 more of its compatriots eviler than itself back into the house, right? Which is also goes to show you, when you deal with evil, you have to keep praying and never stop. You have to keep up your protection, because they're going to wait for you to not be guarded, and that's when they'll come in, right? This is also why sin is such a problem, because it breaks your connection to the Creator. And breaks your protection from Him, right? We can see that with the Israelites over and over again, right? They break their protection with God, and so evil through all their sin, right? And God would give them over to their desires and say, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to protect you anymore. And evil goes, yes, and comes running in to start doing their damage.
Even after, what does it say in the New Testament about there's certain sins that after a while God just
froze up? Yeah, I forget exactly what you're talking about, but I know. Where was it?
It makes me really think about Trinism and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It really,
the sins.
The sins.
The only way, once you go to a certain sins.
If you got to a certain point in sinning, that.
Well, basically, a warning, like, here, this is what you're giving yourself over to, and if you continue, then you're not protected anymore, and hopefully you'll come back.
That actually shocked me when I read that in the Bible, but even he will.
No, I want to be careful with these streams, wife. I don't want to bring things up that I don't have the verse off in my head, because the first thing, source.
I know. I have it highlighted somewhere.
Yeah, I know. We gotta find it again.
So,
it's a good verse. It deserves a lesson in and of itself. They'll have to wait till the next semester. Ooh.
If you want to talk about verses that kind of confused me at first.
When you were young?
When I was younger. And then now that I read it, and then, see aspects of it, it's quite...
Oh, hauntings. Right. I should continue that tangent.
I really wanted to distract you from that.
Wife doesn't like it. There. But...
No haunted butts, please.
Why don't they keep roaming? Why do they want to stay in one spot? Well, the answer is, if there is power around taking ownership of an area, then a spirit would want to do that. Be able to take the power and the worship of that territory, of that house, for itself. Moreover, you can see why they might do things like, when they're on camera, start making a mess, because it gets them attention and gets more people believing in them and accidentally worshiping them. You never leave an offering out for a spirit of any kind. Like, the only being that should ever receive anything like that from you is God, and God's made it clear he doesn't want that anymore. Like, he doesn't need that anymore for the physical realm thing. Yeah, he's had the ultimate sacrifice, and now the physical realm is completely open to his power and whatever spiritual stuff that had to play, or why it needed to play out with the cross, right? So never ever leave a sacrifice to anything, because it's not of God. God doesn't need those. He doesn't want those. He's, the ultimate sacrifice in Jesus Christ makes any more sacrifice unnecessary of a physical variety. So if you ever run into a situation, whether it's food or some kind of idol left out or whatever it is, this, why I warn people against Buddhism, right? They have this whole thing, little thing for them, like, hey, spirits, come on in. No.
You literally make a house or
no.
Call it a dollhouse.
Bad. Don't do that, you idiots. God doesn't need these things anymore. What if he ever needed them, or if the sacrifices were just ritualistic, doesn't matter. The point is, he doesn't ask for that anymore. So anything asking for it is not from God.
It's basically like a bribe, if you think about it.
Yeah. And you're actually making it stronger, right? Why should it stop messing with you? Right? It'll mess with you just enough to get more sacrifices then. And then when it has enough power, it will threaten you to keep doing it. Give you this. And that's a corrupt version of God's covenants. And it's a bad idea. Because you're giving them more and more control over you, your property, your soul, all of it. You're giving over more of that consent to them every time. And that's bad. It's, that's not going to end well. But don't do it. It's not worth it. I don't know what they're offering. Don't do it. It's not always your soul either, right? Whew. Anything else about that subject? I feel like all right. Anyway, so explains all that. I can share a specific story about that too. I remember watching this documentary a long time ago about a freaking island in freaking Mexico where a girl died, a little girl, and in memory of her, all these people started leaving dolls out.
Oh gosh. Which
was taken as a sacrifice and an idol. So wouldn't you know it, the place became pretty damn haunted. Now, it was really crazy because the documentary, I forget its name, but it actually filmed something, right? You know how these ghost things never film anything? No. This place was crazy enough. Even one of those actually caught stuff on camera. It was crazy. The main dude, like, it was one of those things where you had a skeptic guy and a believer guy and all the rest, right? Well, the skeptic guy was like pointing at a doll tied up here with eyes, right? They were closed. And he was like, wouldn't it be crazy if those eyes opened? Pop, they opened. And he lost his shit, as he should. And guess what? Why did it do it? Well, because that documentary was going to get released. And bam, how much spiritual energy did that thing get? How much worship? How many more people brought dolls? Yeah. Dumb. Like I'm convinced that's probably why most ghost everything is happening. Like I've debated. Like I don't know how to do it right. I've debated doing some ghost routines because some of these hauntings are obviously fake. Obviously. There's no way around it. But like on one hand, it's good to prove to people that the supernatural works or the supernatural is there. Yeah. Right. It's for some people, it'll help them. And in other situations, it's also good to let certain things know they're not welcome. And there's people who really need help in those areas. But on the other side, you have that whole problem. Right? Where you're going to feed a lot of these things by filming them. I throw up my hands. I don't know. Because on one hand, we're in this horrible situation where you can't go to a pastor and expect help when you're receiving demonic activity of any kind in your house. Right? They're more likely to throw you in a loony bin than they are to help you these days. They're more likely to try to take your kids away, right? Saying you're not mentally fit, right? They're far more likely to do that than help you. Which, of course, pushes people to all manner of quacks and Buddhist crap and whatnot to try to, and anything but Jesus Christ. And, that's obvious. It's kind of obvious why evil does that, right? Frustrating. I was just listening to a very interesting guy who documented the history of the clown, which is surprisingly very demonic, and like the concept of the clown and the harlequin and all that. It's interesting. And he brought up something really, he pointed out something I knew about. He said it much more elegantly, but he's like, in places that aren't Christian, right? They don't have to hide because no one's going to think to use Jesus Christ's name against them. In Christian nations, they have to make things a cult so that people don't think of doing it. And also, I would add to that, do things like misdirect, make you think you're under attack by aliens. Most people don't think to pray against aliens, right? So make yourself look like an alien gray or something, and no one's going to try to pray against you. It's really interesting on that concept. There was, what's his name? Crowley, right? He drew a demon he communed with, and it looked exactly like an alien gray in a funky space outfit. Like, and by a space outfit, not like a space suit, but like a space vampire thing, if you will. Like a dark lord. And the thing literally told him that right now you call me demons, but they're going to call us something else in the next couple decades. And guess what? Yeah, that's right. We call them aliens now. Hilarious. Oh, man. Anyway. On the alien front, too, right? Whether or not they're all demons or there are some things from other realms, I suspect more dimensional realms if we're dealing with that. If you want to know why they're here and they're interested, it's because Earth is important. The territory here is important. This creation is important, which is why God made man to take it for the kingdom of heaven, which is why so many of his servants rebelled to take it from him. You can see this also in the parable of the vineyard, right? What are the workers in the garden? What do they want? They want the vineyard. What's the vineyard? The vineyard is creation. God says, "Hey, no, wait. God is the owner of the vineyard in this story, right?" And he sends servants, they all get abused and killed. And then finally sends his son, and they kill his son, trying to take the inheritance for themselves. Right? They want the vineyard. It's important. And I suspect there's something far more special about the earth than we even understand. I suspect that all more because at the end, right? there's a 1,000-year period where where was it? This long period of time where the devil's imprisoned and then he's released. Now the interesting thing is I gotta go back and read it before I do. Yeah, it doesn't say who releases them. It just says he's released. I gotta make sure I read it because I don't want to false information, all that, but I'm 90% sure it doesn't say God releases him. It just says he's released. It doesn't say how, why, or who does it. And then a bunch of people rebel again. And why would they do that? Right? This is a losing horse. You saw him lose. Why would you side with him again? And the ants. I might be talking about that, Arganes, and I'm also streaming, so you don't get all your facts straight, but you get the point, right? There's that. I think 1,000 years, and then right, the devil's released and all this, and I suspect it's because a lot of people aren't going to be ready for the reality of how the universe works. And when they find out that rebellion's possible the way evil's rebelling, they're going to be tempted by it. And they're going to be overconfident in their ability to succeed. Which is why the occult is also so dangerous, is because people are tempted by it. And most of what you actually need, you can find out in the Bible anyway. There's just some things useful, like knowing their symbols, knowing why they want to hang on to territory the way they do, why they want land, and they want land ownership and all the rest, right? Is because they're trying to claim that inheritance. Some of it's about power, some of it's about, I guess all of it's about power in that sense, right? And yeah. Whew. I'm a little drained after all that.
Talk about some heavy stuff.
I do talk about some heavy stuff.
That's why I distract myself.
I let God lead me. How we go the best we can. He's been.
And when he leads you, it will be exhausting.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been a wild ride learning about a lot of this stuff. To be honest, probably really started learning it in 2000. Like I knew a lot of the Bible angles, but I really didn't start learning about a lot of the other crazy stuff out there until 2016. And then Michael Heiser's book, The Unseen Realm, really helped bring a lot of what I had been learning together into a cohesive whole that was also biblically sound. And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, I think I brought this up before, but Heiser, there's no way that dude didn't get killed by spiritual means. Just saying. Cancer, yeah. That's how it manifested itself, as a spiritual attack that caused cancer.
Things like that could cause a heart attack.
The thing about that guy was he was great, but he always, he wouldn't go all the way, if that makes any sense. He would always kind of hold back, and he wouldn't recognize the evil in the leaders of his current day the way he should. There was just enough churchian in him that I guarantee you he wasn't protecting himself spiritually the way he should. And he was revealing such heavy stuff that would, that has been hidden on purpose because it allows people to fight them better for so long. Right? It's been hidden for so long that of course they'd want him to shut up. But he was protected just enough. Yeah. That's why you should protect yourself, kids. Ew. Oh, I think I'm slowing down here. I got work in the morning. I want to do some other things before bed. Save my voice. But I hope you guys enjoyed that, and it was informative and interesting. And a good Sunday school lesson. We got a lot more coming.
I told you, it wasn't your favorite Sunday school.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Next Sunday school lesson should be, I got to look at it again, but should be about the Nephilim and the flood. Could be about the flood already. And I might have split that into multiple episodes. I got to look at it again. But we are definitely talking about Nephilim and the flood here soon. Oh, Arcanes, you're on vacation. Writing a new novel. With a self-insert character? Yeah.
But
those are so annoying. The worst is when you're kind of set and then you realize it kind of inserted. Well, hey, good job though. You have any idea how you're going to change the character up? I mean, you always do need to write a little of what you know. Oh, just straight up. Hey, that's the hardest way to do it, but good job. I mean, no, in a way, it's the easiest way to do it, but it's the hardest mentally sometimes. Like if you're too tied to the work, it feels like you're deleting yourself, which is funny. But maybe you shouldn't be in the work, so there to do. Oh man. Yeah, we should probably end the stream. I'm slowing down too much.
The kids spit art right here.
That is funny. They spit. Oh, is that them spitting the paint for the straw? Yeah. Basically. It's better without. Hey, that's good too. Now Art Games is tempting me to start talking about writing and all that.
Why not?
Because of my voice, and I'm tired.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah. Usually it is the truth. I'm trying to think. As a young writer, when did I have a self-insert? My characters do tend to be more Sigma than most. Though I've been experimenting with alphas because I've been fascinated by them.
I just find it funny.
And always growing up, I always was fascinated by the Alpha Bravo relationship, and I always wanted one, which I find hilarious.
Hence why you have it in your book now.
Yeah. And I could never quite, because there's just that buddy for life mentality, right? Not the whole hierarchy, one's above the other, just the buddy for life thing. I was really fascinated by it as a kid. Still am.
I think part of you wants one.
Yeah, I just said that. Well done, Mike.
That's it.
There's why the stream should end soon. We're repeating ourselves in weird ways. But yeah, I think Art Gaines. You actually read the whole. I don't know if you read the whole thing, but yeah, you read when I was trying to do that. Oh man. So how long is vacation for a week? You want to share any details about the novel? Or you want to get it out first?
He's on vacation. Does he want to think about?
He's on vacation this week.
Yeah.
Writing a new novel.
Oh, writing.
He's taking a vacation to write.
I see. Okay, I can read.
Hang on.
English,
It's true.
It's not my strong point.
Makes me want to write again. Oh, Screaming Void. Yeah, okay. Cool. So.
Oh, the sweet prequel. Oh.
Yeah. Dude, so dealing with that primordial evil thing that the colonists run into, right? Okay, cool.
That was a cat. Don't worry.
Cat.
I locked him in the bathroom.
That's fun. No, yeah, the Screaming Void was fun. Did you ever finish that on Arttunes? I gotta look at that.
It's been a while since you've been on radio.
Yeah, man. Been so focused on surviving. But yeah, if you guys haven't, you should check out the Screaming Void. It was a good time. It's like aliens in the Thing had a baby. It's a good time. With some Christian-y elements. It's a good time. At least the parts I read. I gotta read the whole thing before I make claims like that.
Reading before you, yeah.
It might change along the way. Oh, okay. Just have to act the last few chapters. Cool. I gotta do it. Oh, I did want to mention, folks, that I do want to kind of do a Kickstarter for these Sunday school lessons, so you guys can read ahead if you want to do that, or have something physical to teach kids or something. I don't know when exactly I'll start that.
Okay, when you say teach kids, like what are you thinking?
Well, like you have a physical something to give them.
Okay.
And by kids, young men.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, young men. Right. People who you think can handle the stuff we're talking about, right? Like, hey, you have a young men's group, you have these books to hand out. You get the point. Not everyone wants to do that, or a digital version as well. That's just what I was thinking. I don't know what you guys think about that. I was hoping to get some feedback, but we'll see how it goes. I'd love to throw one up once I figure out life a little bit more. I have everything written out. I'm just editing right now. But the way I young Deuteronuses, yes, or do they Deuteroni? So I would like to get something physical that you guys can buy or digital, so you don't have to just go up on iTunes for it. And of course, if you guys want to support, I have like 5 of them planned, but at least 2 semesters in my head. So that sounded weird. So this one goes all the way to New Year's, so I'll be releasing it for free, of course, up on iTunes. But if you, I need to figure out how to do Kickstarter and all that as I have free time. When I do, though, that should go up. And if you want to buy a physical copy or a digital copy that can be not on a website, that'll be your go-to. Money-wise, to get it done, I'll only need enough to make sure I get the code, the book code,
IB, whatever it's called.
the library code thing. Legally, you need one to be able to own it. And you can get free ones off of Amazon and all that, but they officially own the work then. And I'd rather not have it that with this one. So,
especially with this one.
Yeah, I could see them shutting it down pretty fast if it ever did get their attention for whatever reason. So, that would be my big thing. That and, of course, shipping. I'm a poor man. Very poor. So poor. But I want to give you guys the option to throw out some physical copies if there's enough of you who want to get it physical. So, and of course, digital that you can download. That was the lamest announcement ever.
Wow.
Lame. But I'll get better at this as we go. And as I actually get the Kickstarter formed, not just an idea in my head. And we see how many guys actually join up. But all right, this has been, what are we calling this? Have we got a name for this stream yet? I don't know. It's a good stream. It's the Sunday school stream, the Grizzled School. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Wow,
let me know what you think.
Ideas are getting worse and worse by the moment.
Shut up. I can't do it anymore.
That's why they call it shutting down.
I took this woman on a date today, and this is how she treats me. It's rude.
Hi.
But then again, it wasn't crazy special. She wanted to go to Goodwill and Taco Bell. It's the last time I let her pick the date venue. I'm just gonna do it myself next time, so she thinks
it was a prop too.
A little grander. It was a freaking beach. I mean, we were both sick, so beach was kind of out of the question. I just laughing at myself. I was like, what am I, a teenager? I take my woman here to Taco Bell and Goodwill.
We didn't go through the drive-thru. We went inside.
No, we sat in luxury.
Woo! Watch people go through.
We made fun of people going through the drive-thru. That was fun. I'll give you that. All right. Like, subscribe, share. Leave any feedback you got and any questions you got. Discord, you can join at the bottom. Oh, God, I gotta check that thing more in case people actually hop in on that.
Have you been ignoring? Is that why your phone's been? No. You have like how many Discords going on?
Shut up. Too many Discords to count.
How many?
Not that many.
How many?
More than 10. But most of them aren't paid attention to at all. Look, I am cursed. I am cursed as a man who loves video games that require lots of people, but an organization. But being horrible with people in organization, like getting them to work together. So I'm forever that solo player trying to grind.
An board game and have it set up in the corner for you.
Don't you do that? She mocks me because there was a time when I would set up Axis and Allies and play it all by myself. I would play every faction, and I would try to murder myself for hours on end.
What's funny is while we were dating long distance, that's what you were doing.
It's true. I was. That was a lot of fun, though. I guess I wasn't a bachelor, but I was. I had my own apartment, baby, and no one was going to stop me from putting that board game out on the table. It was sad I didn't have a dog or a cat, though. But it did mean that nobody messed up the board game when I was at work. Good times.
You got a lot of history lessons.
No, not accurate history, that's for sure. All right, everybody. I already did the like, subscribe, share. Keep an eye out for the Kickstarter as I write it up and get it ready. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah. Discord. Social Galactic. I'm just going to end the stream. I got to do better on ending streams. This has been the Grizzlies. We will see you guys later.